Hello everybody. Today I'm gonna give you a few tips on software project development. First of all, my name is Moshe Levi. I have been working in the software development industry for more than 24 years in Israel. Most of the years in the Israel's defense industry. I've done many projects, huge ones, in software. I've seen projects succeed, I've seen them fail. I have integrated the software, integrated with hardware, anything you name it, I've done it. And I think from the point that I am now, after all these years of experience, I can give you a few tips that are worth money. Tip number one. Do not start until you and your client really understand and agree of what you develop. This sounds real basic, but many times projects fail because there is no agreement in details between the client and you. You think one thing and the client thinks another thing, and many times you meet the client at the end after the system is done, and it can be very painful. So it is very basic to start by defining the requirements as detailed as possible as you can. Of course, there may be details that they are not clear, nor to you and your client, and there is a place to clarify them on the beginning. But do not start developing until you know exactly what you're going to do. Tip number two: integrate all the time. Well, the basic risk in software development is at the integration. I've seen projects that they start integrating huge amounts of software, of code written by different people. And this is a big risk. Sometimes it may take time. You cannot really know how much time it's going to take. So in one of the projects I've made, we tried to do the following thing. We started by development a basic functionality, something really basic, but as a whole system. And we continued adding to this basic functionality more and more functionality, keeping the system integrated all the time. The system was all the time in integration. All the debugging, all the testing by the developers was made in the system background. So it really helps. It helps you solve problems while they are small before becoming big, and it's really healthy, and you can actually kill the risks before they become huge. For doing that, you need to develop in cycles, and every cycle has its steps. It starts by requirement clarification. This is the time that you need to speak with your client and clarify all the little details that were missing. Do the detail design, coding, integration testing, and deliver it. This is real basic. You deliver actually one working version. You even deliver it to your customer, but you need to know that this is not a fully tested version. Rather, it's a version that you can start feeling the system and playing with it. Actually, this way he becomes one of your QA, a member in your QA team, which is very good. Cycles can also be maybe parallel development. You can have either a serially development cycle after cycle, but you may have also few cycles done in parallel, and then you need to integrate between them. The way to do it is by developing orthogonal functionality in every cycle that you develop in parallel, so that the integration at the end is pretty simple and very straight. When I say orthogonal, I mean that there are no relations between the two functionalities. If there are, you better do it in one cycle, both. Tip number three: develop a UI prototype. This also helps to agree with your client and to make him understand in a very early stage what he's gonna get. The client needs finally he sees the UI. He doesn't see all the other smart things to do. And the UI is actually what he knows. So what I suggest is that in a very early stage, start by developing a prototype of your UI. It doesn't have the functionality. It looks like it has the functionality. It has the look and feel of the final system. Make it quick and dirty. Do not try to do a very nice coding and software. It's not important. What's important is to have something that helps you and your client understand what you're going to do. And this UA prototype also keep developing it while you add more functionality and change the functionality. It's going to help. Number 4, design your architecture at the beginning and test it. What I mean is that while you negotiate with your client the requirements at the early stage, you better start designing your architecture, because you already know more or less what the system needs to do. So design it and test it. What I mean test it is develop its basics and test its weaknesses. You will know what its weaknesses are. You will know where your risks in a performance manner reside, and you better test it right from the beginning and see that it works. Tip number 5, build the core of your team carefully. At the final run, everything is your team. If you don't have a good team, if the team is not built up well, no methodology is going to help you. So what I suggest is that if you have a basic technology that you use for the project, you must have at least one in your team that has experience in technology, and you can teach the others how to use it. And at least have 30% of your team to be high-profile developers. These guys that take the whole team forward. These guys that know the whole system and know what to do. You need to have them right from the beginning, and at least 30% of your total team. Test after every cycle, but focus mostly on stability and performance. Test detailed only at the final stage. What I mean here is that on the testing stage on every cycle, you should do a thorough testing, but focus only on those bugs that affect your stability and performance, and do not make any effort to solve all the other functionality bugs for those that are going to be time at the final stage before you deliver your software. Tip 7. Make sure that you, or at least one of your team, has a full and deep understanding of the whole system. This is also pretty basic. I think that the leader of a development team has to know how the system works, has to have a full view of the system and know what the system does. But if he doesn't, and sometimes it happens, at least have one of your team that sees everything, that knows everything. It's a key factor. As the more people know it, the better it's getting, but at least one has to know. Tip number 8. Use a well-known configuration control system extensively. Make sure that you create streams for cycles developed in parallel. This is also pretty basic. Everyone is going to tell you, but sometimes people don't work like that. And it's very, very important that you have a configuration control system, that you use it extensively, that your developers use it, and also that you use the stream feature that exists, I think, in every configuration control system nowadays. When you have cycles in parallel, then split the streams and use them for development in parallel. When you do the integration of the parallel cycles, then it's the time to merge them. Tip number 9. When it comes to your infrastructure, think big and wide. You never know what comes up next. Better be ready in advance. You never know really what is going to come up next. There may be another version of the project. There may be a new feature that the client, he's willing to pay money for it. It's not a time of money, but he wants it and it's important for him. So when you build your infrastructure, think big and wide. This is exactly the opposite from when you develop the functionality. In the functionality, do exactly what you have to do. Do not do more, but whenever you develop infrastructure components, then think big. Think big, and it's going to help. Finally, tip number 10, believe in your team and they will believe in you. This is also a basic rule when leading people. If you believe in people, they're going to believe in you. they're gonna believe in themselves, and finally you're gonna get the best of them. At the end, everything is about people. Thank you very much.